Today we're going to talk about when everything around you is going to pot, how do you get back to ease and flow? And we're going to look at what are the factors, what's causing those problems, and then what can you do about it. So if you're joining me live, please say hello so I know you're there. I've just brought you up on my phone so I can see that it's working. Hi Rita, hi Melissa, how are you? How have your weeks been? Just kind of we're going to draw cards as usual. I've got the deck of cards here so that you can see, and I'll be drawing a card for everyone. Hi Julie, how are you? Good week? Have you been busy? What's been going on? And so yeah, we're going to talk about today. Hi Sonia. Today we're going to talk about when things are all going wrong and we don't know what to do, and how do we get back to that feeling of ease and flow and just kind of moving with the energy as opposed to against it. So I've got 4 or 5 points that I've jotted down. Hi Belinda, how are you? That I'm going to cover, and I want you to just kind of ask me questions about things that you are experiencing that maybe you need some clarity about. So apart from, hi Mickey, so apart from actually me saying from my point of view what to do to get to ease and flow, let's talk about the practicals. If you've got a difficult situation, well, connect with your higher self and let's see what they have to say about it too. So I'm just going to give it a few more minutes. How are you all getting on this week? I'm just going to plug my iPad in, my laptop in as well. Hang on. I can just see it saying a low battery. Hi Gwen. Hi Carolina. How are you? How's your week been? Have you all been busy? Gwen, I saw you're going on holiday soon. Where are you going, you lucky duck? So tonight is to talk about what is going on, what to do when things are all going wrong, how to get back to ease and flow, and then I'll be pulling cards for you. So Monday was poop. Oh dear, that doesn't sound good. And then also I want your practical problems that you're running in that's stopping you from getting to ease and flow, and let's see if we can get some live guidance for you. And then before we start, at the beginning when I draw cards, I'm going to do one for Kerry because Kerry missed out last week and she sent me a message asking for a card. So I will do Kerry's card as well, and I'll be asking you all a bit later on if you want a card. But before we get going, I just want to remind you I have my offer. So on the 26th of July, I'm running a Connect to Your Higher Self workshop in North London. And I'm offering you guys in the group a chance to get money off higher self readings. So for every person that you refer up to 4 people, you'll get £5 off a reading. It's a 60-minute reading. You can use it for anything you want, clarity on specific situations or just as a general reading. I tend to keep them very practical, and I like to give you outcomes towards working towards something so you have some direction to go with. And then once the reading's done, I will send you the audio of the recording. So if you would like to avail yourself of the offer, then please could you forward the leaflet, and I will, and then let me know which of your friends have signed up so I can cross-reference their names. Gwen, Puerto Plata, Mallorca. Ah, that's lovely. That's really nice, Gwen. It looked amazing, that beach. Hi Karishma, how are you? What is going on in your world? Thank you, Carolina. That's very kind of you to say that. Okay, so let's crack on. We've got a few of you here. Okay. So let's talk about when things are going to pot. And now this applies mainly to those of you who are either in the solution of God, who have awakened, or who are in evolve you energy. For those of you who are in advancement or curate, it's slightly different advice, but I'm going to focus on awakened, evolve you, and solution of God people. Okay, so let's take an example. You have got a busy day ahead of you, you oversleep, you wake up feeling tired and groggy, You rush out of the house and you've left your purse behind. You miss your train. You get to work late and your boss is in a bad mood. None of your work quite flows and it's really difficult for you. You find it a challenging day and you think, right, I'm just going to come home and have a nice evening and sort myself out. And you come home and you find there's a leak in the bathroom, right? This is someone's idea of a bad day. Or your car has broken down, something like that. And it's this whole series of things that have happened. And understandably, you feel really exhausted and you do not feel the ease and flow of your day and you are just hacked off, right? And you think tomorrow's going to be a better day, and then tomorrow something else happens. You get some bad news, or someone picks a fight with you, or something else happens that really knocks you, and you find that you are struggling to find a good feeling place or thought, and you find yourself kind of focusing on things that are going badly for you. So why is that necessarily a bad thing? Because some of you might go, well, that's just people, that's how people think, it's habitual thinking. And it's bad for you because it's generating fear. And that fear, if it's not processed and changed into love, will store in your physical cells. Why is that a bad thing? Because those physical cells start to fill up with that low stored vibration, and ultimately that begins to affect your physical age. So looking older than you are, aches and pains in your body, maybe digestive issues, headaches. These can all be signs, and these are just some of the signs of lots of low stored vibration. And you might also notice things like anxiety, a low level of depression, which then gets worse, unable to shake off illness because that low vibration is stored in your body. Now, if you have awakened, or if you are in Evolve You, you will know that you can change your perspective from fear to love, because when you awakened and you got your broadest truth, you changed the integer that lives within your soul. So if you can connect your energy to your broadest truth, so for example, I'm working with someone at the moment and her broadest truth, I love this one, is I am victorious, and she has had to overcome a great deal in her life. And so I was saying to her, you know, when you're having a bad day, connect into your broadest truth. For her, it gives her strength, it gives her excitement, and it immediately makes her more high vibe. Okay, so for some of you, that's a really quick and easy way for you to start changing how you're feeling. When things are going crappy, connect to your broadest truth, right? The other thing you want to do is you want to start seeing, can I find a new perspective about this? So let's say you're at work, you're being micromanaged, and it just feels ick, right? No one wants to be micromanaged. Most people want to be given their job and then allowed to just get on with their work. And so you could have a perspective of, they don't trust me to do my work, which creates resentment from you to them. You might also have a perspective of, I feel unworthy because of their criticism. Now, you have to remember that their perspective, unless they are awakened and evolved, they are coming from a perspective of fear. They're coming from a perspective of, if the work doesn't get done, I'm going to be told off. But you're awakened, or you're Evolve You, right? So you can bring in a new perspective with the help of your higher self. And you say to your higher self, what is the divine perspective that I need to know? Now, for any of you watching who are not awakened and who are not in Evolve You, but you're actually in the solution of God and you haven't done the releasing process, for you that might be a bit harder because you are still very much connected to a fear-based perspective. But you can still always find a love-based perspective. And the way you do that is you have to kind of find the kindness in the situation. So for example, it could be that your boss is actually struggling to be a boss, and so the way they're dealing with it is to micromanage you. So your perspective could shift from I'm being micromanaged because I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy to be in charge or responsible for my own work, to actually I'm actually okay at my work, but my boss is struggling. And you might feel a sense of compassion towards your boss. Okay, so this is what I mean about divine perspectives. If you can change your perspective from one of anger, vitriol, worry, anxiety, and you can actually move it over to one where you feel compassion or kindness at the very least, and hopefully a loving perspective at best, towards the person that is causing your aggravation, that is triggering your lack of ease and flow, then you are practicing the art of moving from fear-based thoughts to love-based thoughts. Okay. The other thing to think about is when you have a new perspective, if you have done the releasing process, can you create new truths in the moment? What if you don't have compassion? I've tried. Right, so the compassion and the kindness is really about making you feel better, Mickey. So if I know your bosses do micromanage you, don't they? And they're really kind of quite unpleasant in that process. So you're an immense soul, Mickey. You and I both know that. So what I want you to do is to connect with your higher self, Sahara, and ask her, what is the divine perspective of what is going on here? What is the overall perspective I'm getting that I should understand about these managers and how they're treating me? And one of the things that she's really wanting you to understand is the fear that they feel, right? Now remember, you don't feel fear in that same way because you have it, you've awakened, and I have a feeling that you are going into evolve you. If you're not already there, John says that's my bosses. So you have to, if you're already going into evolve you, Mickey, then you want to look for that divine perspective. So think about it this way. They're coming from a place of disconnection. So they are anxious. They come across as overbearing or micromanaging. Okay. And you want to then be like, okay, they're feeling anxious, but what is the divine perspective of this situation? Is it A, I need to change jobs or just leave my job and pursue self-employment? B, is it I'm here to teach them something, right? And your higher self will tell you you're there. Right, that's what I was getting, that you were in Evolve You. Marvelous. Welcome to a wonderful place of living, right? And then C, the other divine perspective could be, what is it that I'm teaching them, right? Now, it is hard to, on a daily basis, to have to interact with people who are so disconnected and who are in so much fear, especially if you've awakened and you've evolved. Okay, so for some of you who live with people who are like me and who do all this energetic work, you will have awakened naturally, because that is my influence, and my influence is powerful. So you will have awakened. You may not know your broadest truth, that's the integer in your soul, but you will have awakened and probably heading into Evolve You. And so you're going to feel the need to find love in every situation. Okay, so what is the divine perspective, and can you create a new truth along with it? So an example would be, the truth is, I am not responsible for my boss's disconnection. The truth is, it is safe for me to show up as I truly am. Now that was an interesting one, because you'll be saying, but they don't like who I truly am. But if you change yourself to meet where they are, which is low vibe and in fear, what happens is, hi Geeta, what happens is that you are dropping your vibration, and you don't want to do that. Okay, Carolina says, I am a manager. Well, there you go, because you're not micromanaging them and you're trusting them to do their work. Okay. So with this fear that your bosses are feeling, there is judgment from them, right, about themselves, but they don't understand. They're projecting that judgment onto you. You might feel guilty because you feel like you're not living up to the standards set. And then there's responsibility and obligation energy, which are a killer of excitement. Okay, they really just make the world a worse place when you have responsibility and obligation energy. Now, if you're an employee, you might feel responsible and obligated to turn up and do your job. You are. That is true. However, you are not obligated and responsible for lifting other people's moods or for making other people feel better. What you are responsible for is a principle in Evolve You, which is called Love for Me First. And the beauty of Love for Me First is that it is an energy where if you can fulfill yourself by making yourself feel loving and loved, and you are filling yourself up with that, it naturally influences everyone around you, and it allows you to show up as the best version of you. Right? Now, you don't have to be, yes, exactly, Gwen. They're probably passing on the judgment and pressure that they're under and they're feeling. You don't have to be in Evolve You to be able to start practicing Love for Me First, because Love for Me First is also connected to boundaries. So if you are in the solution of God and you have not awakened, or you have just awakened and not gone into Evolve You, you can still practice loving yourself first by putting in really good boundaries. Okay, and even at work you can put in good boundaries. So at work where you're being micromanaged, sometimes you do need to stand up for yourself and say, I know that you really want me to do this. I know that you're worried I won't get it done, but could you just take a step back and let me get on with this? I cannot do this with you breathing over my shoulder. And some of you will be saying, I can't possibly say that to my boss because they won't receive it. And this is where your higher self comes in, because your higher self can help with this, right? They can help give you the words on how to talk to your boss so that the situation is resolved in the easiest way possible. They can also, as I said, give you divine perspective, and you can ask your higher self to go and talk to that person's higher self and say, can you help sort this out, please? Because this is really uncomfortable for all this. They thought, yeah, well, Mickey, that's because you are an immense soul, and what you are demonstrating is all of you. You're showing up in your full truth, and they are intimidated. And what you're doing in your showing up is the truth of you. And I'm never going to say to you to dumb that down, because that's what they need to see. Because in that showing up as the truth of you, you are triggering change in them. Okay? You are getting them to change, and you are showing them truth, right? You're calling them, you're saying, come this way, leave the fear, come to love. And this is the other thing about when things are all going wrong for you and you're like, I just don't understand what's going on, especially with people around you who are feeling aggravated. You are calling them to true energy. And what is true energy? It is love. That's what true energy is. And you're asking them to step up. You're asking them to be better. You're asking them to connect with love and disconnect from fear. And so that's why they feel intimidated by you. Mickey, I would definitely ask your higher self for that divine perspective about this situation. Because if you've been in the chamber of God with them lots and it hasn't made a difference, then you need a new perspective, which would help you to change how you interact with them. I am getting something. Hang on a sec. Well, it is definitely about you calling them to true, because that's what they're really showing me. And they're so in their resistance, that's where they're feeling discombobulation, and that's where they're pushing back on you. basically. That's what's going on. They're trying not to do, like, listen to the call, but their soul can hear what you're doing to them. That's what's intimidating the human, not the soul, but the physical human is feeling quite intimidated. Okay, so let me just have a quick drink of water while I just think my thoughts and regroup. Right. The other thing, before I go on to more about how your higher self can help us, I want you to notice the habitual conversations and the habitual thoughts, patterns of thought you have in any given situation when life is not going the way you want it to. So we all have times when life does not feel easy, right? I have to say, for me, I would say 98% of the time life feels like it's in ease and flow, but I'm human and I still have times when it doesn't happen. So when you have that, you have to notice what are your habitual patterns of thought and what's being triggered in you, in other words. Because remember, your external world is a reflection of your internal world. So if your internal world is all of a kind of jumble and you are thinking life is crap and it's never going to get better, then your external world is going to reflect that. So I'm going to give you an example. The client I was working with today, I asked her, what's your money flow like? Because a lot of people find money flow really challenging. And she said, I get some money in and then it drops down, the rate that money comes in, and then it's like a fall off a cliff. And I have to be at the point where I just don't have any money. And I just don't know what I'm going to do. And I have to watch every penny and it's really awful. And then all of a sudden money comes in again and I go through this cycle again. And I was like, okay, so that's your habitual pattern around money. What are your habitual thoughts around it? And she had a whole host of thoughts around what money was. Like, she had fears around being seen as rich and what were her obligations around that. She had fears around, she believed in the adage that health and wealth don't go together, and if you have money then there has to be a payoff in some way. She had beliefs around I've got them here actually. She had beliefs around people steal money from you if you're rich. People only want to know you because you've got money. So can you see, she's got all these habitual thoughts around money. And I was like, but money's just an energy. It flows to you all the time. And it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to allow a steady flow in, or are you going to have to wait until your back is against the wall and then you're like, oh, okay, I'll let some money in right now just to help me tide things over. And then you go back into this cycle. So what are your habitual thoughts that are being triggered when you are not in ease and flow? So historically for me, I used to I would feel triggered and I would go into, there's no one here to help me, I am alone, I don't know where to turn to, I am helpless, and it was like I felt abandoned, essentially, was the underlying fear that I have been abandoned. And this was a pattern that played out a lot for me in my previous business. I was constantly kind of going through this feast and famine. And when I was in feast, I was earning loads of money, but then I'd go into 6 months of famine with no extra income coming in. It was hard, right? And I had all these beliefs. And so one of the things I had to notice with my higher self's help was to break my habitual responses to situations and my habitual thoughts to situations. So with money, one of the things I had to do was, for example, this was before I'd awakened, I started to listen to Abraham Hicks every day. And there's a recording that I shared over the weekend with friends, and it's something I would share with all of you guys, which is, it's a recording called Everything Is Working Out For Me. I listened to it every day for a year. right? Because I needed that reassurance that everything was going to work out for me. And then I began to do my money work. And even after I awakened and I evolved, I was still having some habitual thoughts around money. And so then I would have to kind of listen to, I'd have to go back to Athalia and say, okay, I need to understand what is the fear that I'm still feeling. And so it was like, I don't trust God enough. And I've already talked about trusting God. If you're new to these Let's Talk Tuesdays, go back to last week and the week before. It's called Trust You, Trust Your Team, Trust God. I didn't trust God. So while I was in Evolve You, I had to sort that out. But once I learned that I could trust God and I could trust that God would flow to me everything I needed, I was beginning to able to change my habitual thoughts and my habitual responses. I no longer panic about money. I no longer worry about where money's going to show up in my bank account, because it always shows up, right? I don't ever feel that level of fear that I ever felt. So this is one example I wanted to give you about your, hi Pratima, not long time no see, about some of your habitual thoughts and your habitual behaviours that can really affect that feeling of ease and flow. Let's talk about lovers, right? Or a lack of a lover. I know some of you are looking for husbands and wives and partners, etc. And their absence can trigger a whole load of thoughts around self-worth, physical appearance, whether you're worthy of it. There are no good men/women in the world. Another one I've heard is all men come with baggage. Who's going to want me? I'm in my 30s or my 40s. It must be all my fault. You know, all these kind of things that are people experience when they haven't got the thing that they want. And this relates to manifesting. So if you want to manifest money, or if you want to manifest a lover, once your desire has been stated, it is met. That's what Abraham Hicks says. But it's in the gap of the manifestation that we don't experience ease and flow. And so you need to kind of go, okay, how can I find ease and flow? So one of the ways is the rampages. One of the ways is to create new truths and ask for divine perspective. And another way might be just to say to your higher self, can you give me some soothing? Just let me feel some soothing, some calm. Let me feel some freedom from all this angst, right? Let me feel hope instead. This is where your higher self can help you. Have a nice time, Carolina. So I want you to start talking. I'm always encouraging you guys to talk to your higher selves. If you have a difficult situation that is triggering habitual thoughts, habitual patterns of behavior, is making you feel desperate or panicky or alone, then you need to look at, what are my thoughts? Are they based in fear or love? Do I need to get a new perspective or point of view about this? Do I need to set a new boundary about this? And I need to create some new truths with my higher self's help. And then one of the other things, which I've never talked about on a live with you guys before, is you can use, with your higher self's help, a spiritual intention protocol. So this is for you if you are awakened or in Evolve You. And it's about giving an instruction to energy. So it's called a spiritual intention protocol, or a SIP for short. And Mickey, you could use this very easily. So you basically connect to your higher self. You feel their energy around you. You think of the situation that is causing all this angst and difficulty and the lack of ease and flow. And you use the SIP clarify. What clarify does is it instructs the agent to explain what is going on and make it clear to you why you're experiencing this situation over and over and over again. Another one you can use is Scoot. Now Scoot is slightly different because Scoot actually just turns you away from the problem but doesn't necessarily give you clarity. So it depends what you want to get from it. Do you want clarity, or do you and then to take action, or are you happy just to turn away from that problem? So spiritual intention protocols, you can ask your higher self to give you those, and they will give you the right word. And what you'll find is when you use a SIP that the energy changes. So to recap, when you notice ease and flow is not happening for you, notice your habitual thoughts, habitual patterns of behavior, and can you change your perspective? What is the cause of your reaction? Is it fear versus love, right? Can you find a new perspective? Do you need to put a new boundary in place? And then do you need to create new truths in the moment? Okay, even those of you who are in curate, sometimes you just need a new truth, which is a bit weird to say given where we are, but that's life. We're physical humans. Notice if you're feeling judgment, guilt, obligation, responsibility. Are those loving thoughts for you, or are they fear-based thoughts for you? And if they're fear-based, you know you need to let them go with a new perspective. Ask your higher self to soothe you, to bring you balance. Ask your higher self to give you those new perspectives, and perhaps even help you understand what the other person is going through. And then finally, use your SIPs, your spiritual intention protocols, like Clarify or Scoot or Understand. Whatever your higher self will give you, they'll give you that SIP to help you understand what is going on and to change that meaning for you. I'm really glad. That I hope that helped, Rachel, and that I think it's no coincidence that you showed up when you did. So I think that's brilliant. Right, I shall love you and leave you all with this. I hope tonight's been useful. I really want you to understand that with practice, ease and flow can become your norm. If you're in Evolve you want to really be practicing the principles. Don't go to where love does not flow to you. Remember love for me first as those two key principles, and use those as your guidance. And I promise you, ease and flow will be your best friends. And you'll be like, oh, wow, this feels so good to me, right? Just trust me on this. It's a practice and you can achieve it. Allow yourself to feel worthy of ease and flow. Allow yourself to feel hope for ease and flow, and know how powerful you all are. Sending you all lots and lots of love, and I will see you all again next week. Take care.